Are you thinking about buying a home soon, or perhaps you've already started and maybe you feel a bit confused or stressed out because you don't know what the next steps are, or perhaps don't understand each step of the process and what it entails? Don't worry. I'm Jasben Lai with the LiveInnerCity real estate team, and today I'm going to take you through step by step and give you tips along the way so that you fully understand the entire process from beginning to end. Now, a bit of a disclaimer, I'm the Calgary, Alberta, Canada realtor, and a lot of this process does apply to other cities in Canada for the most part, as well as possibly some other countries. And the main thing is that the process might differ slightly, and also you might find that the terms I use are also different. So without further ado, I have this workflow built out in a visual way, but I'm going to go through step by step. So let's take you through it. First of all, when you first meet with your realtor, you're going to want to have a buyer strategy session. And typically this takes about an hour of your time. And what we go through in this meeting is really dive into why it's a priority for you to look at buying a home right now. And it's really for us as realtors to understand your situation on a deeper level so that we can really dive into it and understand the why. And what we use to really understand the why, because everyone can start with saying, I want 3 bedrooms, I need a double garage, I need a finished basement. Those are what's. We use the vision exercise to really dive into why do you need those things. For example, maybe you have a family, a small family of 3, and you're planning to have a second child. So in that case, that 3 bedrooms, it does work, but now we're linking the what's and the whys. And when we understand why, we can have the clarity needed to understand how we're going to go about looking for homes and really be focused on the homes that are the best fit, rather than looking at all these other ones that may not be a good fit for you. Also, part of the vision exercise is we're going to look at a longer time period. You want longevity in the home as much as possible, unless of course you do have a plan for something a little bit shorter. So I would usually say about 5+ years at least you want to stay in this home, so that you're not kind of switching homes, because there's a bit of risk there. So here's a tip for you. If you're switching homes all the time, say maybe you're a little bit short-sighted and you buy your first home and it's a condo, and you're a single person at this time, and you meet a lovely lady or lovely man, and you guys get together and decide, hey, we want to live together. Maybe that 1-bedroom condo is no longer that great of a fit for you, because you're going to plan to have children at some point if that's what you plan to do. Now, it might be a bit short-sighted because that condo is no longer a fit for you. Now you're going to have to sell that condo perhaps and also buy a new one. Now in that situation, it really depends on the market, and that's why I say there's risk. You might be selling that condo in a not ideal market, so you might not get as much money for it, and then buying something that might not be a good price as well. So that's why we want to have longevity when we look at your vision. The next thing is who you work with matters. And what I mean by that is we would discuss how a realtor like myself is going to be helping you, and who you do pick as your realtor is very, very important. If you want to know more about how to choose the right realtor, we have a few videos on that, and I'll leave a link in the description below. Don't worry about taking notes here, because we're going to leave a downloadable for this exact process workflow for home buying for you for free, so you can go ahead and download that. The next thing that we talk about in the buyer strategy session is the principles of buying. These are developed over years of experience in our team to really understand what are the goalposts, how do we structure the entire process, and what to expect. And this is really so you understand exactly how this home buying process happens, whether you're a first-time home buyer or a seasoned home buyer. It's just a reminder for you so that things can go very smoothly and you can expect what's going to happen in the next steps. Then the next step in this buyer strategy session is to really dive into what the costs are. Now, this is really important because a lot of people don't have the clarity about what's needed in terms of the costs that come with buying a home. And these are things such as lawyer fees. You may need to get an appraisal through your lender, perhaps title insurance to close the deal. Also, we're going to talk about realtor commissions, but at least in Alberta, it's the standard most of the time that sellers would pay our fee for both buyer and seller agents. So it's not something you usually need to worry about. And then we're going to actually go over this entire home buyer process with you. And one of the things that we like to do is give you a visual, if you're a visual learner like myself, and really be able to see and map it down so you understand where you are in the process at all times. That really takes the stress out of it and makes it a lot easier for you to stay ahead of the game by preparing yourself for the next steps. And then, of course, I just said next steps. We do give you the next steps in this process. And then we go dive into the second step, which is the mortgage pre-approval. Now you might be like, okay, Jazz, maybe I just want to start looking at homes first. And that's okay, but we really recommend doing the mortgage pre-approval first because it determines what you buy and where. Without doing the mortgage pre-approval first, which is not within your control, the bank will decide what you actually qualify for in a mortgage. And instead of maybe settling on a property that is a little bit lower and you could have afforded a little bit more, or maybe looking at properties that are a little bit higher priced than what you actually qualify for, it's always good not to kind of fall in those two categories so that you can fully expect and we can maximize that qualifying amount if you like, so that we can get you the best fit property for what is affordable for you, because no one really wants to be house poor at all, right? And then we do that pre-approval application, and the bank will require some documentation to verify and really provide the qualifying amount, including the interest rate and what type of mortgage. If you want to know more about mortgages, I'm not the mortgage guy, Felix is in our team, so you can always message him. And we have a few videos that we'll also leave in the link to the description below so that you can really check out. Now, moving down into the third step. Now, that's really setting up and viewing homes. This is what is the fun part, and it's really exciting because buying a home is a really big deal. It's very fulfilling. And some of you guys may not know, but I recently bought my second home, which I'm very proud of. And it takes a little bit of time sometimes, but if you have a very dialed in vision, then you'll be able to find something for yourself that is going to be the right fit, not only for today, but also for years to come. Now, when we set up the showings for you, we're going to schedule them. We're going to go and view homes, because remember, big tip there, never buy off photos. Photos these days, they can use different exposure, angles, lenses to really maximize and make the property look almost completely different. And we get that feedback all the time is, this property looks nothing like the photos. And that could either be better than the photos or worse than the photos. You just can't trust it. What you can do is, if it's the right fit, like the specifications, the locations, the features, and the lifestyle the property offers, then it would make sense to go view the home in person. That's why we go and verify it by going to see the property in person. Now, do any of the homes align with your vision? That's kind of the next step there. You have to ask yourself, based on the vision exercise that we have done with you, does it line up with it? And just know, it's very normal for a vision exercise to really evolve over time, because maybe you think you wanted something to begin with, and then it ends up, you've seen a few homes and maybe you don't need that. Maybe something else that you haven't thought of that you did end up seeing in a home becomes more important. So these things evolve over time, and it's important to really get dialed in. Now, one of the things that I'd like to share with you, just a quick example. There was a couple who were looking for an inner city property because they love the lifestyle. And throughout the process, their vision evolved so much that they ended up buying in the suburbs. And one of the comments they gave to me was, without the vision exercise as a starting point and being able to revise it along the way, they would not have been able to come up with this end vision, which was completely 180 degrees different from where they started. So that's why we just start at this point in the buyer strategy session with the vision exercise, and then we revise your vision exercise as things change as you look at homes. And then here, if you say yes, then maybe you want to consider making an offer. In that case, then we would move to the next step. And if it's no, we'll go back to step 3, and then we'll go view some more homes. Moving to step 4. Now, if you do choose to make an offer, what we're going to do first is do a comparative market analysis, or CMA. And we want to understand in that CMA what the market value of this home is first, and then we backwards engineer the offer strategy. And then based on what your needs are in terms of possession date, how long your conditions are, if we have financing, if we have home inspection, we're going to write all those things in, and we're going to go ahead and write that offer. Next, we're going to submit that offer to the listing agent, and then we're going to negotiate these things. Normally there's a price negotiation. We're going to talk about possession date. There's going to be a deposit, which is negotiable. And there's going to be conditions, like I mentioned, financing, home inspection are fairly common, but there could be other conditions, and you can discuss with your realtor how to work with those. And then we might put some terms such as a 48, 24-hour walkthrough. Perhaps we want to make sure that the seller that professionally cleans the home first prior to possession. These are kind of the terms that we can add in there. And then we're going to add an offer expiry. And then next, if your offer gets accepted, we're now in the conditional period at step 5. And that's when we have a amount of time to finalize our condition. Say we have financing. So we need to go get that mortgage approval. And typically, the standard is normally about 10 business days, but it could vary based on the market conditions. Right now, if we have 10 business days to get the financing, you're gonna have to submit some documents to the bank. You'll have to work with your broker or your lender specialist to really get everything in line for that mortgage. Next, we're gonna need to deliver a deposit check, and that's usually in certified funds, so things like a bank draft, a certified check, perhaps even a wire transfer. But there are several ways to do that. And next, you're gonna wanna have a home inspection. It's not necessary, but it is something that our team highly recommends. And we're gonna need to perform that home inspection, figure out now if we have any issues, we're gonna go back to the seller and we're gonna try to negotiate for you in terms of what we can come up as a remedy. And if both sides agree, then that's great. We're gonna write those into the offer, and then we can go ahead and waive our conditions. Now, if you do find issues and you can't come to an agreement with the seller, then what we do is we send a non-waiver and we kill the deal and walk away from this property. Now, if we proceed with the deal, then we're going to be in the firm offer stage at step 6. And this is the time now that we have everything finalized that we need to start packing our belongings and preparing for our move, as well as lining up in hiring a lawyer of your choice. And we need to go and sign at the lawyers. After that period of time, if you do have a property walkthrough term written into your contract, then you're going to go and verify that A, the sellers have moved out, B, there's no material differences in what property you had originally seen, and now at the property walkthrough, those are the things we're going to check. Now, if you're not sure what to check during a property walkthrough, we have a list for you, and we can leave that in the link in the description for you to download. And then we move to step 7, which is the day you've been waiting for. This is possession day, when you get the keys to your new home. And this is normally around noon, but it could slightly vary. It could be about 11 a.m. to about 1 p.m. depending on how the lawyers are working on it. But the realtor is going to meet you over at the property and give you the new keys to your property. And then you take possession, and now the real fun starts, because you're going to take this house that you bought and really build it into the home that you envisioned from the beginning. Now, hopefully you found a lot of value in this, and remember to download the copy of this workflow just so you can visually follow through if you like. And if you have any questions, please leave that in the comment section below, and we love to hear your support by your likes and your shares. And make sure you subscribe to our channel if you do want to continue to get our content. My name is Jasben Lai with the LiveInnerCity Real Estate Team, and it's been my pleasure to walk you through this journey. We'll see you in the next one.